Alright, welcome to my channel. This is Lock Chuck. What I'm working on today is this Anchor Last 880-4 Harden padlock. Very stout disc detainer lock. It has 11 discs plus a spinner and a fairly deep I'm assuming it's like an anti-drill for the lock. The sidebar is an L shape, so you can't just drill to where the sidebar was and pull it out like some locks. If it's just single sidebar, you can just drill where the sidebar is, pull the sidebar out and be able to bypass it or turn it without picking it. The discs are fairly large compared to some of the other discs. Most of the gates have false gates on them, and I'll kind of show you as I'm picking and kind of give you an idea of what's going on. But so that's what I have. But all right, I do have my have made a custom pick tip and tensioner for this lock after I throwing everything around. Where did that one go? Is it on top? Anyway, so this one's here. So this is the picking tip. It matches the profile of the key. So the two profile discs are the spinner, the first disc, and the last disc. These other has this other shape, and I'll kind of talk about how that affects the picking as I go and what I do to kind of help mitigate that different shape. So all right, let me get this back together and we'll start picking on it, and I'll kind of tell you what I'm doing. All right, let's see if we can get this thing picked. So the key does work. All right, so I want to try to approach this a little bit different. I've been trying to learn different ways to get more feedback from this lock. So I'm not going to turn the core or pre-turn it. And I actually have my tip set up a little bit different, and I'll try to explain that. But right now I'm going to line it up, try to get the tip and the tensioner all into the lock. All right, so got my tensioner in, got my tip all the way to the back. I'm going to turn just the front disc and apply tension to the core. All right, so I do have my marks set up, but they're set up kind of backwards, if you will. So I'm gonna find the first disc, which is or the very back disc, which is a profile disc. I do know just from the tension and feedback and picking it, it is a zero cut. So I'm gonna turn it all the way clockwise. So it does have a profile on it, and the picking tip has to fit into that profile. All right, so I think I've got it all the way clockwise, and yeah, it doesn't want to turn counterclockwise. And if I haven't said it, sorry about some of the noise. I'm printing some stuff, so that may be a little bit, be able to hear it in the background. So it's all the way clockwise. Okay, so my picking tip matches the profile right now. So but what I'm going to do is take it out. Before I go to the next disc, I'm going to rotate 180 degrees, so my actual profile is opposite, because the rest of the discs, except for the first disc, are not profiled. And what I'm finding out is if I flip the picking tip over, I get more surface contact with the disc, and I can actually get a little bit better feedback from some of the discs. So I'm going to, this is the second disc. All right, it's binding there, and it went to 0, so we'll come back. Got one click. Still not. Let's see. Okay, that one feels like a wide gate. Because there's a little bit more movement in the picking tip when it's the correct way, if you will, the profile direction. So that one feels a little gritty. So I'm gonna go there because it feels wider. This one is gritty. It's binding the whole way and not really feeling any false gates or gates. So it went all the way clockwise, and when I try to come out, it binds. So that kind of tells me it's a 0 gate, and I'm not feeling any other gates, so I'm gonna leave it there. Okay, this one was gritty. Get a little bit of a click when I went to 0. It doesn't want to come out. So I'm going to put it back at 0. Okay. Alright, I felt it going a little bit of a false gate. So let me go away, see if I can find the click. Alright, got a little bit of a click there, and it feels pretty wide, so I'm going to leave it there. Alright, I went past the gate. They're not very deep on this one, where the sidebar isn't sitting in very deep yet because all the discs are not set. Alright, there's a gate. Feels wide, pretty wide, so I'm going to leave it. So that gate, it went into a gate there. That one feels pretty wide. It's gritty. Got a little movement of the tensioner when I went to 0. And it does not want to come out of 0, so I'm going to leave it there. Alright, so it does not want to go past there unless I completely counter rotate. So that is definitely a good gate there. I'm going to leave that there. This one is the last disc, so I do have to turn my tensioner back so it matches the profile. And again, it does not want to come out of that gate. So I'm going to go back, start checking everybody. But I switched back over, switched it a little back to the opposite side. That matches the profile. That one does not want to come out. I got good movement on the tensioner when I went. Get back to 0. See if I can feel the same thing on this one. Ooh, really good movement there. So that one does not want to come out. And that one does not want to come out. Oh, and I just touched it. All right, so it is open. So I'm gonna see if I can get my picking tip and handle out. Sometimes I've had trouble getting this thing to come out. This one should be a profile. And there. Whoa. Sorry about taking so long to get that out. But, alright. So I'm still unlocked. Come on, there we go. So that, you had to be careful because once you take that Allen screw out, this core is pretty much ready to come on right on out. Where did my tray go? As you can tell, I was not prepared as usual. So try to give you. I may fast forward through this and come back to it once I have all the discs out. But all right, welcome back. So kind of going from the front of the lock, you have this giant kind of drill protection steel, which sets this core really deep into the anchor last. It's kind of why you need a very deep tensioner. Your first thing you hit is a profiled spinner, so there are no gates, but it will spin continuously around. Then your first disc is a profile, which is kind of a zero, I guess. Well, it is a zero, I'm not guessing, but see how it has the profile of the key. And then all the way until you get to the last are these different shaped kind of profiles. And the last has the profile. There are 11 discs. And what I was talking about earlier is, see if I can kind of pick up one that's not the profile. So the tip, if you follow the profile, the tip, kind of hard to work around this camera, but anyway, so when I'm picking, if I use it the correct way, that little 45 on there gives the picking tip just a little bit of motion because it's not exactly right up against that little ledge there. So what I was saying when picking, that if I turn the key over, I have more surface contact and I get a better feel of how large the gate is when I do kind of a little wobble check, versus when it's the correct way, I'm dealing with that 45 on the key and I get a much bigger rotation. So to me, just something I was playing with is I picked it with the larger end adjusting on that little tab. But you can't do that on the profile disc, but both of these profiles for this lock were, of course, 0 turns. But if you're in the profile, you have good constant contact anyway, so it doesn't really affect. You just can't see the graduations on here, but it doesn't really help unless I'm decoding. It just kind of gives me an idea how far I'm turning. So most of the gates, except for like the zeros, so 0 here, here, okay, there's a couple more in here. This one is a 0. Let's see, there's 2 more. This one and this one are both zeros. So whenever it's a 0 cut in this lock, there are no false gates. So that's why when I'm talking to my picking, I didn't feel any gates. It was just binding or gritty, and then it would let go at 0, and that's why, because there's no false gates. All the other gates have at least 2 false gates. Some, depending on where this one is, so these are basically almost no turn. Oops, that disc is upside down. I was like, why is it not looking right? So these, the false gates are after. So because this is almost a no turn cut, so the false gates are after. But most of all the other ones, the false gates will be before and after. This one's a fairly far turn, so they're before. So, well, excuse me. Yeah, this one is almost a full turn, so it's the opposite of this. So this one's almost a full turn. So these are kind of on the other side of the gate because there's no room to put a false gate because it's such a small turn. So that's kind of the gate. These discs are fairly large and thick compared to some of the other ones, so they're pretty easy to stay on. It's just the spacers, you just have to be careful to make sure you don't try like I've done when I was practicing. I was picking the same disc a couple times thinking I moved to the next one, but since it was so wide I didn't. Carriers, not much different except being able to accept the L-shaped sidebar. And since this is more of an L shape and it's not round, it gives a little different feedback than those abloys. And it kind of looks like it's actually not, looks like it's wider here than it is, so it may give a little different feedback. But it's definitely a lot different than the abloys. So you kind of have to learn a different tensioning, or not tensioning, but a different feel. So yeah, but it's a fun lock. I'm glad I got it. And just in case, there's a look at the key again. So it's got that profile, distinct like rectangle with a 45 in the corner for that, for the anchor last. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of it. All right. Have a good one.